Halloween has come and gone, and I look back fondly on this year's trick-or-treaters, the creepy costumes, the skanky costumes, and hordes of candy. After all, that is what the holiday is all about, right? But the past is the past, and it's time to move on and celebrate the next holiday that's coming up this year, and that would be Thanksgiving. Where I live in America, we celebrate Thanksgiving by eating lots and lots of turkey. But the point of the holiday is truly to show our thanks for all the things we're thankful for, and to give thanks thankfully. So what am I thankful for? Halloween and creepy things. Come on, you really didn't think I was going to do a Thanksgiving episode, did you? Look at the title, it's right up there. So on to part 2 of games with creepy sounds in them. Free-to-play games are awesome because they're free to play. And Warframe is one of those games that are free to play. So I think it's awesome. Where was I going with this? Ah, yes, Warframe. I love the art design of this game. Everything looks like it's some sort of nightmare spawn, even though it's not even close to a horror game. This game is so action-packed with the gun shooting and the wall running and the axe swinging that you don't really have time to stop and enjoy the creepiness of the game. Fortunately for you, and fortunately for this list, that is where the audio of this game comes into play. One of the creepier parts of this game is the voices of the enemies. They speak in some made-up language, and their voices are so garbled and modified that it sounds like it's from some kind of nightmare worm's digestive tract. That alone isn't enough to put Warframe on this list. What really nails it for Warframe is this sound effect right here. That's the sound effect I'm talking about. Just to clarify what you just heard, I'm just gonna play this again. Here you go. So what exactly is this sound? One of the missions you can go on in Warframe is called a capture mission. Your objective is to find a specific person, shoot him into submission, and capture him, her, or it. From the sounds of that scream and the way that this looks, I don't think you're capturing anyone. It looks more like you just dissolve them and absorb them back into you in the most painful way possible. That's just horrifying. Here, just listen to it again. Catherine is, Catherine is a video game, that's for sure. It's really hard to say much else about it. There's something that I really love about this game, though. It's really unique. I guess you could call it a puzzle game, but the story takes a bigger role in the game than the mechanics do, so I don't know, it's just a good game that I like. It's definitely up there with one of my favorite games, and there's a lot about this game that I love. The art style, the cutscenes, the story, and of course the audio. There's a lot of great music from this game, and I may just do a full episode on it one day, but that's not why I put it here. The reason this is number 6 on my list is because of the boss stages of this game. There's a lot about each individual boss stage that creeps me out, so let me just break it down a little more. In Catherine, this dude Vincent is having these nightmares. Each of his nightmares reflects something about his life that's going horribly, horribly wrong. So each boss level has some creature that's a horrid reflection of his life's events. So you have everything from a fear of controlling women, adultery, having children, getting married, and the list just goes on. And those fears are personified into these creatures. All of these nightmare creatures call out for Vincent, and their voices really get under my skin.
Please, give me more! Wait for me! I found you!
And with those creatures calling to him, those simple anxieties become horrible nightmare fuel. So that, plus the fact that each one of these things is chasing you up a tower, it really gets to me. I just would not want to be in his shoes. So, in part 1, I picked Super Ghouls and Ghosts to be my number 14 as a very personal pick. I could totally understand how people can look at that pick and just be like, "You're really afraid of that?" and raise an eyebrow or two. And this is going to be another one of those really personal picks. But I'm sure a lot of you out there will agree with me on this, so let's talk Star Wars. To be honest, there isn't a whole lot about Star Wars that I would consider frightening. Sure, there's this guy and this thing, but that's just a small part of the Star Wars universe. I wouldn't consider myself an expert on Star Wars by any means, but when I first played this game, I felt like there wasn't a whole lot about Star Wars that could really surprise me. Oh boy, was I wrong! This sewer-level portion of the Shadows of the Empire had a lot of creepiness to it already. To start things off, you're in this cramped, dark sewer, and I really don't like tight spaces. They have you underwater for a good chunk of the level, and I really don't like being underwater. Then, of course, all the water is dark and murky with who knows what kind of shit. Literally. So I can't see more than 10 feet in front of my face, and then there's this biomass of horror in front of me, and it's just making this noise. This sound creeped me out so much when I was a kid that I had to stop playing altogether for a few days. And the way that the sound of this thing is slightly muffled by the water really doesn't help this at all. When you're playing through the sewer level, you can hear this thing's groans echoing through every part of the sewer. It really disturbed me as a kid, and it still creeps me out enough to this day to earn its spot on this list. It's a personal pick, but it still gets to me. Okay, this one is not fueled by nostalgia or being frightened as a child or anything like that. I just kind of stumbled on this one by being on the internet. If you look around, pretty much everyone who's done a list like this has thrown this thing up here. And for good reason. The audio is horrifying. It's a culmination of atonal noises that are just designed to give you nightmares. It's not music, it's not a sound effect, it's just noise. I know very little about Earthbound, and even less about what's actually happening in this game in context, but I know that Earthbound is not a horror game, and Gygas is being just an asshole for making something so horrifying to be his own theme music. Most of the stuff I put in this list is creepy because of their context, but this thing has no context and it's pure nightmare fuel. I think I'm gonna go get someone else to beat this guy for me when I finally get up to it in Earthbound. Screw this noise. Sometimes, people have strange fears of things that they can't really explain. I never really found clowns to be that scary or frightening at all, but I know more than a handful of people who dread their very existence. And everyone has one of these kind of strange, senseless fears, so what's my strange fear? Carnivals. And I would have to blame that fear on Super Mario 64 almost entirely. Now you see, Mario 64 is a perfectly normal, cheerful, fun game. But like most Nintendo core titles, they always seem to have some sort of creepy gem hidden within. This game's creepy gem was the Haunted Mansion level. In contrast to the rest of the game, there is nothing brightly colored or fun-filled about this Haunted Mansion level of Mario 64, and hell, this one isn't even that well hidden. When you first get into this level, the music alone is enough to make you grab for your blankie. When I played this game as a little kid, I would always wait until my older brother was in the same room as me before hopping into this level, so I wouldn't be so scared. Even as an adult, this music kind of creeps me out a bit, but getting a little off topic. The thing about this level that really got under my skin wasn't the weird eyeball enemy thing, it wasn't that goddamn piano, and it really wasn't the overall music in this level. It was the basement's carnival music. Hearing that sweet carnival music get twisted and horrified made me hate coming down to this basement. The worst part is that music is always there, just waiting for you. And when you got closer, it just kept getting louder until it overcame the normal music of the level when you're on the carnival itself. And as soon as you step into that little carousel, it's really all you could hear. So, thanks, Mario. I'll never go to a carnival again, thanks to you. And sometimes I even have a hard time playing Roller Coaster Tycoon. Okay, I'm just gonna throw this one out here and let you know that the original BioShock is kinda my favorite game of all time. In my eyes, it's the best game ever. Best game ever. And even though I've done an awful lot of whining in the last 2 videos about creepy stuff, I am a huge fan of horror. These little bits of horror in each one of these games make me love them so much more. And nowhere else is that more apparent than in BioShock. But like most other games I've mentioned in this list so far, there is a lot more than just one sound effect or one song that makes this game's audio as horrifying as it is. What really makes the horror in this game shine is the beautifully convincing voice acting performances. I mean, just listen to this.
This little fish looks like he just had his cherry popped. Wonder if he's still got some Adam.
Caution, there will be spoilers.
Sit, would you kindly? Stand, would you kindly? Run! A man chooses, a slave obeys. Kill! A man chooses! A slave obeys!
And all of that makes for a great, albeit horrifying, gaming experience. But the real clincher here, the reason that this is on my list, comes from the voices of 2 specific beings in this game. The Big Daddy and the Little Sister. The Little Sister's sweet yet twisted and distorted voice coupled with the Big Daddy's mindless echoing groan makes all of my hair stand on end. Or what's left of it. When you're walking around Rapture and you can hear that groan just echoing from around the corner, you can't help but hesitate for a moment, knowing that terrible, terrible things are just around the corner.
Wait a minute. He's still breathing. It's alright. I know he'll be an angel soon.
So, enjoy? Okay, before I move on to number 1, I just wanted to do a quick recap of everything I've talked about so far. Number 14, Super Ghouls and Ghosts music. Number 13, Pokemon Red and Blue Lavender Town's music from the Japanese version. Number 12, all of the music in Super Metroid. Number 11, Tristram from Diablo 2. Number 10, Minecraft, the Enderman sound effects. Number 9 is Halo and all of the sound effects from the Flood. Number 8, the entire intro from Half-Life. Number 7, Warframe, the capture sound effects. Number 6, Catherine, all of the boss's voices. Number 5, Star Wars Shadow of the Empire, the boss named Dianoga? Or the big spiky blobby biomass. Number 4, Earthbound's final boss music. Number 3, Super Mario 64's carousel music. Number 2, BioShock, Big Daddy and Little Sister's voices. And now number 1... I was just talking about Nintendo hiding creepy stuff in their games, wasn't I? Well, there sure is a lot of creepy stuff to talk about in Majora's Mask. There's the Majora's Mask grief theory, the children at the end of the game, Ben drowned, the dead dancing instructor, the nighttime at Lon Lon Ranch, and the list goes on. And probably one of the worst out of all these examples is the Skull Kid himself. If you know the story of Majora's Mask, go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. But for those of you who don't know, let me just tell you a little sad tale of the Skull Kid. Skull Kid was a lonely boy who was lost and afraid and alone in the world of Termina. One day this boy met up with 2 fairies and became close friends quickly. The 3 of them became mischievous little scamps and loved to get into trouble. One day the Skull Kid found Majora's Mask, and it gave him dark powers. This lonely child let the darkness control him, and he starts to put an end to Termina by crashing the moon into it. Yeah, real tragic, right? There's a lot more that I love about Majora's Mask, but Skull Kid is one of my favorite things, so why does he go on this list? That sound right there. The first time I heard that, I freaked out and shut off my N64 without saving. But that voice, that echoing noise and the screech of it makes my skin crawl more than any other audio I've heard from any game ever. I know there's probably technically worse out there, but the fact that I heard this when I was a little kid, so it scarred me there, and how distorted and weird it sounds, plus the fact that it just comes out of nowhere, all the pieces add up for me and it just goes right on top of this list. And, well, that's about it. So, happy Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, Halloween, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa holiday? Happy November!